My husband David was anxiously waiting outside the operating room for his first love. And there was just a wall between us. When Claire was wheeled out of surgery, she asked weakly, "Where's Sister Sophia? Why isn't she with you?" Hearing my name, David snapped, "Leave her be. She's perfectly fine." But he had no idea Claire's new heart was mine. The nurse covered my body with a white sheet, declaring my life over. I was dead, yet my soul lingered in the air, stubbornly refusing to fade. I watched the doctors working busily in the OR. I watched as Claire's vitals finally steadied, and the doctors rolled her out of the operating room. Without thinking, I drifted after her. David was pacing outside the door, his forehead creased, fingers absently tapping the phone in his pocket. When the doctor came out, he rushed over, his voice tinged with anxiety. "How is she?" The doctor turned to him. "The surgery went well, all thanks to a timely heart donation." David's expression softened a bit, and he finally let out a sigh of relief. "Any idea who the donor is?" "I need to thank the family," he pressed, catching up to the doctor. The doctor shook his head. "Sorry, Mr. Zhou. The donor wanted to stay anonymous, so we can't share any details." David gave a brief nod. "Okay." If David found out Claire got my heart, I wonder how he'd react. Would he be glad that Claire made it, or upset that I'm gone? At the thought, there was a sudden sour ache in my chest. How come I can still feel things even though I'm dead? I let out a self-mocking laugh. Then my body, draped in a white sheet, was rolled out too. I was wheeled right past David outside the ward. For some reason, he suddenly glanced back, momentarily spaced out. Then he turned away and followed Claire into the hospital room. Claire was still asleep, and David stayed by her bedside waiting. I hovered between them like the other woman. Realizing this, I backed away slightly. I suddenly remembered Claire yelling at me, "Sophia, if it weren't for your scheming, I would have been the one marrying brother David." David also said, "Sophia, you know why I married you." I really was the other woman in their relationship. But it didn't matter, I was already out. Although not by choice. David gripped Claire's hand, his forehead pressed gently against the back of her hand. I sat quietly watching them, unsure how long it had been when Claire's fingers twitched. Her eyes fluttered open. "Brother David." Her voice was still hoarse from waking, and the moment she spoke, his chest clenched. The moment Claire saw David, her eyes reddened. "Claire, you're awake." David hit the bedside call button to get the doctor. "Brother David, I thought I'd never see you again." Tears rolled down Claire's pale cheeks, leaving her looking fragile. David's eyes brimmed with tenderness as he patted her hand. "Don't worry, things are looking up now. You'll get better." Seeing them so in love, a wave of hate welled up inside me. "Everything's great for you now, but where does that leave me?" The doctor checked Claire thoroughly. Everything was fine, and she just needed a bit more time at the hospital to recover before heading home. After the doctor left, Claire asked hesitantly, "Where's Sophia, sis? How come she's not here with you?" Hearing my name, I snapped back to reality. David's expression faltered. He looked down, his voice laced with disgust. "Leave her be. She's perfectly fine." Claire murmured "oh" and lowered her head, falling silent. But I clearly saw her lips curve upward. Same old trick, deliberately bringing me up in front of David to see how he'd react. Everyone could see right through her, everyone but David. After dinner with Claire, David glanced at the time and said he should head home. Claire struggled to sit up with a frightened look. "Brother David, I don't want to be here alone. It's scary." He pulled out his phone and checked, still no notifications. David hesitated. "How about I get Aunt Wong to come stay with you?" Aunt Wong was our live-in housekeeper who cooked for David and me. "Couldn't you stay with me?" Claire bit her lip, her voice trailing off. David paused, swiped open his phone, and pulled up our chat. Our conversation was left hanging 2 days ago. The last message I sent him was. He had replied. Seeing Claire staring up at him with red-rimmed eyes like a little white bunny, David finally caved. He texted me, not coming home tonight. I pursed my lips. Got it, but I can't text back. Seeing David agree to stay, Claire finally beamed. I just knew you'd be the best, brother David. David patted her head, his tone dripping with fondness. What am I gonna do with you? While he was getting water at the water station, Claire pulled out her phone. She opened her WeChat alt account and messaged someone with a pitch-black profile picture. All cleaned up? The reply came instantly, don't worry, it's all handled. A cold gleam flashed in Claire's eyes. At least she died useful by giving me her heart before she went. Sure enough, she not only knew I was dead but had something to do with my death. Looking at my see-through body and Claire's triumphant face, bitter hatred flooded through me. But there's nothing I can do. I could only watch her cozy up to David and keep living in this world using my heart. When David came back with the thermos, he sat down and started peeling an apple for Claire. But he looked a little distracted. His eyes kept flicking toward the phone resting nearby. When the phone suddenly rang, it startled him, making the fruit knife nick his fingertip. But he didn't. He stopped to clean the cut instead. He went to the window and answered the call. Hello, Ching. Yeah. I'm not coming home tonight. What? She didn't return either? David's expression shifted slightly. I know, he said and hung up. Seeing this, Claire quickly grabbed a tissue and wrapped his finger. What's wrong? She asked. David shook his head. Something came up at work. Gotta go. I was taken aback. The call was clearly from Aunt Wang. Why did he lie? Claire didn't seem to notice David's unease and nodded sweetly. Okay, go on then. David grabbed his suit and headed for the door. Pausing at the threshold, he glanced back and said, get some rest. I'll come by tomorrow. Feeling a tug, I decided to follow him out of the hospital. I want to see where exactly he's headed. On the drive home, David gripped the steering wheel with a tense expression, clearly weighed down by something. At every red light, he'd open our chat window, sigh when he saw I hadn't replied, then set his phone down. I couldn't quite figure it out. What exactly was he thinking? Was he waiting for my reply? But he clearly hated me so much. To be honest, our marriage was totally unexpected. We were schoolmates, but not in the same year. He was 2 years ahead of me and the one who stepped in when I was getting bullied at school. I had a secret crush on him but never dared to bother him. After David graduated, I heard he joined the family business with a bright future ahead. Knowing we'd never cross paths again, I buried those feelings deep down. Not long after, my father took out a high-interest loan and jumped to his death. My mother couldn't bear the shock and died shortly after. To pay off the debt, I worked day jobs and picked up night shifts as a hotel maid. I saw David again at the hotel. He was wasted and passed out, hauled into the top-floor presidential suite while I was cleaning the bathroom. By chance, I overheard a phone conversation outside. The drugs are all set, get here quick. I slid the room card under the door. And they took off. I knew this wasn't my business. After checking the coast was clear, I turned to leave. But before leaving, I glanced back and suddenly realized it was David lying there with a flushed face. He frowned, eyes shut tight, his long lashes throwing shadows across his face. Should I step in? He saved me once. Should I just leave him here after he was drugged? After a moment's hesitation, I grabbed the room card wedged in the doorway and deadbolt the room. I poured a glass of water and walked over to the bed, trying to wake David. When David opened his groggy eyes and looked at me, he suddenly mumbled, Sophia? I froze. He recognized me? His expression turned dazed again. Hey senior, why don't you grab some water and hop in the shower? I hesitantly reached out and patted his shoulder. But David grabbed my hand and yanked me hard toward him. After the world spun, I was pinned down under him on the big bed. He leaned in close, his hot breath searing my skin and melting every shred of self-control. My heart was about to leap out of my throat. Senior, snap out of it. I kept pushing against his shoulders, but he'd completely lost it. His burning lips crashed against mine. My mind buzzed as the last bit of my sanity snapped. Everything just spiraled out of control. Vaguely, I heard urgent knocking at the door. David held my face. Sophia, focus. I'm not sure how much time passed before I fell into a deep sleep and woke up to daylight flooding the room. Remembering last night, I jolted upright in panic, finding David still asleep beside me. I wanted to sneak out, but getting out of bed woke him up. He squinted at me for a long moment, like he was trying to piece together what went down last night. What's going on? I had no idea what David had recalled, but his face kept darkening. My heart clenched, and I stammered, it was an accident. But he didn't want to hear me out, tossing a cold wait here till I'm done. He threw out a bathrobe and stormed into the bathroom to shower. I bit my lip, feeling so wronged. Why did he do this to me? He is the one who lost his shit, so why is all the mess landing on me? After he came out, he tossed a bank card onto the coffee table. $1 million. Let's just pretend nothing happened yesterday. I stared at the card, my heart tangled with conflicting feelings. I said hoarsely, no need. Nothing happened in the first place. I opened the door and walked out of the room. In the elevator, my legs felt so weak I could hardly stand. Tears burst out before I could stop them. Whatever. I'll just take it as paying him back for saving me. After a good cry, I comforted myself. To avoid more trouble, I quit my job at the hotel that same day. However, in my panic, I forgot to take the morning after pill. The next month, when I noticed my period was late, I grabbed a pregnancy test while clinging to a sliver of hope. But the 2 red lines on the stick short-circuited my brain. To make matters worse, on the day I went to the hospital to schedule the procedure, I ran into David. He rushed past me, knocked into me, and sent my papers flying everywhere. He apologized while gathering the papers, then froze upon spotting my name and the abortion form. David looked up in disbelief, catching my shifty eyes. You're pregnant? I stammered that it wasn't his concern and turned to flee, only to have him seize my arm. Let's talk. So, by fate's design, I married him while carrying his child. He paid off all the loan sharks for me. After marrying him, I found out there was Clare, his childhood someone. They were supposed to get married, but I ended up cutting in. But in the end, we lost the baby. 4 months into our marriage, I snapped at Claire's constant taunts for the first time. She called the baby in my belly a bastard. She called me a piece of trash with no mom or dad. I tried to stay calm, but she immediately pushed me down the second floor stairs. Through the agonizing pain, I caught her wicked grin flashing across her face. Then she grabbed her chest and fell to the floor. By the time David got to the hospital, our baby was already gone. I sat on the bed crying, but David glared at me with a stormy face. You knew Claire's got a heart condition, didn't you? She can't handle stress. What the hell did you do? I widened my eyes in disbelief, staring at him. I didn't do anything. She pushed me. We lost the baby. But David pursed his lips and stared at me with icy eyes. Claire's a kind girl. She wouldn't do this. Sophia, you've let me down. With that, he walked away without even turning back. Since then, the only tie between me and David was gone. He never touched me again and stayed cold and distant toward me. Clare was smug. She acted like the sweet girl next door around David, but the moment he turned away, she'd puff herself up and hurl insults at me. Just wait, I'll steal him back, Clare sneered. But I never imagined she'd take David back this way and, while she was at it, take my heart too. I've already signed the divorce papers. I had it all figured out. Once David signed, I'd leave this city for good without looking back. However, she wasn't about to give me that chance. Early that morning, Clare lured me out of the house. She said David was in an accident and told me to rush to the center road immediately. She promised to meet me there. Genoa Road was pretty remote. Despite my doubts, I went straight there because it involved David. What I didn't expect was that when I got there, I walked right into a premeditated crash. I don't know when Claire started targeting my heart or how she even signed the organ donation papers for me. But someone like me, without family or connections who'd even notice if I disappeared? She did it. I shut my eyes briefly as David hit the brakes. "Oh, we're home." As soon as he stepped inside, Aunt Wong approached and told David. "Sir, the missus isn't back yet." David frowned. "Got it. When did she head out?" Aunt Wong paused. "She left around 8 something after a phone call." David nodded, motioning Aunt Wong to tend to her tasks, then turned and headed straight upstairs to my room. The room was exactly how I left it. David checked the wardrobe and found all my clothes still there, so he relaxed a little. He sat on the couch, pulled out his phone, and texted me again. How strange, why is he so desperate to look for me today? I watched him wait a few minutes. Just as he was about to call me, his eyes suddenly landed on my desk. A few sheets of paper lay on top. David stood up and picked up the papers. There they were, the divorce papers with my signature. His face fell instantly. He gripped the divorce papers in one hand and called my number with the other. "The number you have dialed is currently off. Please try again later." The icy automated reply darkened his face even more. My phone was smashed to pieces during the crash. How could I even answer his call? Watching his odd behavior, I couldn't help but laugh. He never cared whether I lived or died before, but now after I went missing he's suddenly all worked up. How ironic. He took out his phone again and texted me. When I read those words, a pang of inexplicable heartache surged through me. When would he finally realize I was gone for good? The next morning, David took the sickbed meal Aunt Wong made and headed to the hospital to see Claire. "David." Claire's eyes lit up the moment she saw him. "These are your favorite dishes. Eat more to get better faster," David said gently, arranging the meals on the bedside tray. Seeing how tender he was, my breath caught. Oh wait, I must be stopped breathing. Anyway, I was really upset. Because David didn't even remember what I liked to eat, or maybe he just didn't care about my tastes at all. I can't stand green onions or anything spicy, yet the first time we ate with Claire, he picked a restaurant known for spicy dishes. Because Claire loved spicy food. They were deep in conversation while I hardly touched my food. "Hey Sis Sophia, not a fan of bro David's pick? Or you just don't want to grab bites with me?" Claire teased, catching me mid-pout. David's gaze at me turned a bit questioning. "No, I'm just not that hungry today." I forced myself to take a few bites of the spicy meat slices. I gritted my teeth through that awful meal with them, only to develop stomach pains the moment I got home. The pain was so bad I ended up in the emergency room late that night. What did David say then? "How can you be this fragile? You got sick from a single meal?" "Clary's completely fine." I was pale and speechless, hospitalized for half a month. I came back to the present and saw Claire puffing her cheeks in a cute pout. "Brother, can you feed me? I don't want to move a muscle." David chuckled. He was about to agree but suddenly remembered something, and the words that came out were, "Claire, you're a grown-up now. You can't expect me to feed you all the time." Claire froze, caught off guard by his refusal. Floating nearby, I remembered what I'd said to David during our earlier argument. "What am I to you? And Claire?" David replied, "Claire and I grew up together. She's family to me." "Sophia, don't be ridiculous. Even if you're practically family, you're both adults. Shouldn't you keep some distance? If you want to be with her, I'll step aside. Our marriage was just a fluke anyway." I burst into tears. If it wasn't for saving him, I wouldn't have gone through all this. David didn't expect me to be this upset and panicked momentarily. "Hey, don't cry. I'll do better from now on." Did he actually take my words to heart and turn Claire down? I couldn't help thinking to myself. Then again, maybe I was just overthinking things. David doesn't love me, why would he even care what I said? "David, are you annoyed with me?" Claire pouted, her eyes glistening with tears. David panicked and hastily grabbed a tissue to dab her tears. No, don't get worked up, it's bad for your heart. I'd never get annoyed with you. Claire wiped her tears and rested her head against David's chest. David stiffened, but didn't he push her away. Instead, he reached out and gently patted her back. Watching Claire's phony act, I seethed with hatred. She killed my child and ruined me, yet she still gets to act all coy in front of David with my heart. Brother David, you're the best to me, Claire said between sobs. If Sophia hadn't come on to you back then would you have married me, David? When he heard this, David fell silent for a moment. Clary. He spoke slowly. No ifs. What if Sophia wasn't around anymore? Would you be with me then? I'm not useless now, my heart's fixed, won't be holding you back. Claire grabbed his sleeve, stubbornness written all over her face. David sighed, I promised your parents I'd look after you, so I want to go back on my word. Don't worry, even though I'm married, I'm not gonna leave you behind. I let out a cold laugh. Claire nestled against him, putting on a sweet front, but a flicker of spite flashed in her eyes. After seeing Claire, David headed to work. After passing the front desk, he suddenly backtracked. Have you seen my wife the past couple days? He asked. The receptionist paused. No. David's expression darkened as he turned to leave, but the receptionist suddenly called out, David. Yes? David turned around. Yesterday morning, your wife called saying she couldn't reach you and asked if you were at the office. Since you weren't here yet, I told her you hadn't arrived. The receptionist remembered the call I made yesterday morning. Yes, after answering Claire's call, I tried contacting David but his phone was switched off. I then called the office to confirm he wasn't at work before going to the center road for the meeting. Hearing what the receptionist said, David looked confused. Yesterday morning? I didn't receive her call, he muttered while entering his office. With that thought, he pulled out his phone again and noticed I still hadn't replied. How long are you going to keep this up? David sighed, picked up the intercom, and said, Secretary Lee, book a table for 2 tonight for our anniversary. Hearing this, I stared at him, stunned. David texted me again. I felt a bitter ache in my heart, my nose tingling. Yes, today's our 1-year wedding anniversary. But what's the point of being nice to me now? That afternoon, Claire called. David, when are you coming to see me? David frowned, his eyes fixed on his silent phone. Brother? Claire ventured hesitantly when he didn't answer. Sorry, Claire, I'm swamped today and can't swing by, he snapped back to reality, answering hurriedly. Okay, Claire said, clearly disappointed. Would David really turn Claire down just to have dinner with me? I was surprised. But knowing Claire, she wasn't gonna let this slide. Sure enough, shortly after, the hospital called. The doctor said Claire had fainted and her condition was unstable, so a family member needed to stay with her. A rare flicker of impatience crossed David's face. But he drove straight there in the end. How's Claire doing? Seeing Claire lying motionless with her eyes closed, David paused before turning to the nearby doctor. The doctor said, Miss Bai got worked up and couldn't catch her breath, so she passed out. With no one else around Claire, David had to stay until she woke up. He kept glancing at his phone, maybe worrying about our dinner date. But I couldn't make it, David. After 2 hours had passed, Claire finally stirred awake. David. The moment she saw David, she started tearing up again. Claire, I'm having dinner with Sophia tonight. I really can't stay with you. David cut her off as she woke up. Claire froze. With Sophia? Yeah, she hasn't replied yet, but I can't bail on her if she actually shows up. David nodded. Claire lowered her head, a faint sneer flickering in her eyes. I bet she was thinking, Sophia's already dead, how could she show up? Get some rest. David got up to leave. Brother David. Claire sat up and tried to climb down from the bed but ended up on the floor. Claire. David turned back and hurried to help her up. Out of the corner of his eye, he noticed a small pendant that had fallen off the bed. It was the star charm on my necklace. "What's this?" He picked it up and handed it over to Clare. "It's my necklace." Claire's face tightened, and she quickly hid the pendant. David found the pendant familiar but couldn't remember where he'd seen it. He helped Clare back into bed and immediately rushed to the restaurant where we were supposed to meet. But he waited at the restaurant all night, but I never showed up. The more David thought about it, the more something felt off. He finally caved and called a private detective. "Help me check where Sophia went." I hovered beside him, watching his restless state. To be honest, I was pretty curious too. What exactly had Clare done with me? The private detective got back quickly. There was no record of me buying tickets from any airport, port, or train station. The last time the cameras caught me was when I grabbed a cab outside my place. Reading the private investigator's message, David's heart sank. A flicker of panic crossed his face. "Check out that taxi." The taxi was registered, and they tracked down the driver right away. The driver said he dropped me off around Genoa Road and didn't know anything else. There happened to be no surveillance cameras around the center road. The center road's so out of the way. What did she go there for? David thought hard and suddenly remembered what Aunt Wang had said yesterday. Around 8 in the morning, she got a call and left. He immediately said, "Check her call records and find out who called her." Perhaps still clinging to a shred of hope, he didn't contact the police. Checking the call history wasn't tough. The last call came from Clare. David looked like he'd been struck by lightning. "What?" He suddenly stood up, knocking over the coffee cup on the table. Warm coffee spilled across the desk, soaking the documents, but he didn't even notice. David finally remembered why he hadn't answered my call. He'd been at the hospital keeping Clare company during that time. Clare had taken his phone to play games. He checked the surveillance footage once more. It wasn't too obvious, but there was a necklace around my neck with a star pendant. At that moment, the blood drained completely from David's face. He called the private investigator again. "Find out who gave Clare the heart." I was surprised by David's intuition then. His shock and pain felt real. For the first time, a flicker of regret surfaced on his typically stone-cold face. The detective's email came through quickly. The donor was Sophia. David slowly closed his eyes. His lips had lost all color. "So that was you?" he murmured. I wondered if he remembered that moment at the hospital 2 days ago, walking behind Clare, glancing at my body beneath the white sheet. David raced to the hospital, doing 120 miles per hour. He pushed open the door to Clare's hospital room and entered. "David? What are you doing here this late?" Clare stirred awake, her brows pinching slightly. "Where's Sophia?" David's voice was flat and emotionless. "Sophia? I don't know." Clare blinked, putting on an innocent face. "I'm out of patience, Clare. What have you done with Sophia?" David took a few steps forward, looming over Clare on the hospital bed. "The star pendant was on Sophia when she went missing. If you really knew nothing, how'd you end up with it?" Clare bit her lip, ready to spin another lie. David grabbed her by the wrist. "Whose heart is that?" "Sophia's?" "Talk." Seeing she couldn't keep up the lie, Clare dropped the act. "Yeah, it's hers. She's dead." David's eyes darkened. "Dead or alive, I need to see her." "Hand her over." Clare burst out laughing like she'd just heard the funniest joke. "So now you're playing hero for her? Sophia slept with you, got knocked up, used dirty tricks to marry you, became the wedge between us. What does it matter where she died? I took her heart, so now I can live. With Sophia gone, you'll marry me, right?" Her expression turned a bit wild. "Whether she's alive or dead, I'm never marrying you. I've only ever seen you as a sister. I never loved you. Where are you hiding her?" David roared. Claire's face twisted with malice at David's rejection. "I burned her to ashes and dumped them in the ocean." You'll never find a trace. Pain flashed in David's eyes. He clenched his jaw, yet tears spilled out. He actually cried for me? I was kinda surprised. Just then, the cops who'd been waiting by the door stepped in. Claire's eyes went wide. You called the cops? David looked at her with pure hatred. Of course, but I won't let you die. That heart beating in your chest still belongs to Sophia. Clare must have been telling the truth. She had people wipe out every trace so thoroughly that my bones turned to dust. But David didn't believe her. He went crazy searching every damn corner for my corpse. If I could talk, I'd tell him to just give it up. Late affection is worth less than grass. He never loved me, so why's he putting on such a pained act now? Then he pulled out an album from the study. Right there on the first page was my student ID photo. I was stunned. That was the student ID I lost during freshman year. Never imagined the photo would end up here with David. Sophia, I'm sorry. If I'd treated you better. If I hadn't focused so much on Claire and let her get the wrong idea, would everything be different now? David stared blankly at the photo. Then he put the photo and my star pendant in a small box. Sophia, you might not have known this, but I've always loved you. His eyes red, he clutched the box, muttering to himself. You never loved me, but I forced you to stay because I was scared you'd leave. I kept pushing you away and hurting you, and in the end, I even got you killed. It's all my fault. He did love me? I was bewildered. Had my soul lost all feeling, leaving me numb to his pain? David bought a grave plot and buried the box containing the photo and pendant. It became my memorial tomb. From that day on, he'd come to my grave daily with fresh lilies, spending hours parked at my tombstone, drinking and rambling on about the past. It turned out David knew I wasn't the one who drugged him, and the dose wasn't strong enough to make him lose control completely. He realized it was me and just rolled with it. But afterward, he couldn't bring himself to face me, so he decided to take some time to cool off. Unexpectedly, I just up and vanished for a whole month after quitting. He looked for me everywhere and finally found me at the hospital about to get an abortion. Furious, he dragged me back home demanding we get married. As for Claire pushing me down the stairs, he actually thought it was just an accident. Claire's parents had helped him out, and before they died, they left her in his care. There was never any engagement between them like Claire said. David just didn't want to strain Claire's weak heart, so he always took her side. But no matter what he says, the hurt he put me through actually happened. And that's not something I can forgive. Claire and the hitman she hired both got busted and landed life sentences. David used his connections to make her prison life hell. She had the guards reach out to David time and again, but he kept refusing to see her. Not long after, Claire killed herself in prison. When word of her death came through, David was by my grave, softly wiping down the headstone with a damp towel. Dead? Just get her heart back. David picked up the phone, his voice ice cold. On the way back, David drove with his mind elsewhere and crashed into a speeding truck that ran a red light while he was making the turn. Ending it here isn't so bad. See you next life. At the moment of collision, I heard him whisper to himself, releasing the steering wheel. No surprise there, David died on the spot. And I, watching my body grow more and more transparent, knew my time was up. If there's a next life, I just want a simple, happy life and never have to see David again. But when I opened my eyes again, I was back in the hotel bathroom. Outside, someone was on the phone. It's done. Get here quick, the room card's under the door. This familiar conversation. I'm reborn? I stared at myself in the mirror, stunned. This was my old hotel server uniform. That must be the drugged David out there. Once the people outside left the room, I hurried out. David was lying in bed, barely conscious. Remembering everything from my past life, I threw open the door and walked away without a backward glance. Drop the savior complex and let people live their own lives. This time around, I'm living for myself.